completely charming man. I mean, you know, you meet him through the course of your life. You meet a handful of extraordinary people, and you know it when you get to know them and you find out about them. And so
He was one of those rare people that decided, you know, I really want to give something back to the community. I want to support artists. So he bought this building with the intention of it being for artists, and the rent was going to be accommodate an artist's budget.
Yeah.
Both the Naftalis were very civically minded also. Like they're New Yorkers. You know, they wanted to participate in the city. They wanted to help out. You know, we have the means to help out. We're interested in the arts. And that's what they did, you know. I mean, it's not even just that it's a nice build. It's like you have some dignity here. You know, you have a decent sized space. The building was well run, you know. I mean, they were very cognizant and responsive to like your needs as a tenant and stuff. You know, I mean, it was really, really great.
And I am a witness to Raymond Naftali's intent, because it was unmistakable. His pride, deep pride in this building and what he was doing he had vision. I mean, this is a man with vision. Yeah. He knew that this building would do great things. I wish he could see what's happened. Maybe he can, I don't know.
Which his story is incredible. He came here with about $14 and he told me he gambled away $7 on the way over. and somehow, like people in those days, hard work, whatever it takes, and then he owns a big building. And then when it kind of at the end of the clothing run for him, that's when they both decided that we want an arts building. And they both were committed to this building. This was the baby. It was all about this, yeah. And that's why it's sad, like maybe it's not going the way she might have thought it was gonna go.
They are treating it like it's business as usual.
Absolutely, because they're just lawyers. And it's such a sin because they were Gloria's lawyers.
Yeah.
You know, so that to me, when I heard that at the meeting, I was like, wow, you disrespect this woman and her husband, but like she built this community, right? And to say, oh yeah, no, well, it wasn't in her will. It's like, really?
Yeah, right.
And so everyone always thought it was. So that's weird. Like do they just want this? Maybe.
I know. I keep going over to my HUD, you know, since the meeting actually.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like she could have overlooked putting it in her will, because she talked about it all the time.
What do you mean?
She talked about wanting this to continue after she died, and she talked about wanting her, I guess, nephews or relatives who would be inheriting this to not look at it as a moneymaker as much as a place to keep artists.
Right.
And they weren't always that happy hearing that, you know.
Yeah.
But so no one knew. I didn't know what would happen. But it was surprising to hear that, you know, she had very clear instructions for everything else but this. You know.
I feel more deeply about her wishes not being held to any regard.
The fact that I might have to move out of there, I can't even begin to fathom. That's how I would say it, after 27 years. And why? Because these two guardians want to make enough money for charity. It is insane. It makes no sense, actually.
Right.
I don't even get the concept. In other words, they have this marvelously running building, this building which is a center of Chelsea, this building which dominates 26th Street, the building which is very famous throughout Manhattan that everyone knows, and they want to disband it so they can give more money to some charities Gloria chose. Talk about bizarre.
It's definitely not what she wanted.
No.
You know, and to twist the words and say, well, she wishes, she wished. No, you know, that's what she wished. She wanted it to be an arts building.
Yeah.
She wanted it for educational purposes.
Yeah.
She wanted to continue in the arts.
Right.
She had her three things.
Yeah.
I mean, my understanding, and this was from Dominic, that was the main and only purpose of the foundation, was to preserve the West Chelsea building.
Right. Right.
This thing works. It makes money. It makes a profit. And these guys are saying it's not enough of a profit. It's vulgar and stupid. And also, it's not their money. Anyhow, they're just the guardians. It's not like she left it to her children. She didn't. So it's an extremely disruptive concept that I guess we're all just hoping they're kidding. We're hoping they can't pull it off.
I just really can't see her saying, well, okay, forget it. Do it if you can, but forget it. You know, if you can't forget about it. That's just not anything she would ever do.
We came and met with Raymond.
Is that the first time you met Raymond?
First time I met Raymond, and he was...
What was he like?
A big personality, very charming, loved artist.
Mr. Naftali he had a cane and he was very old. He said, come on, let me show you. And you could see this man was so proud and happy about having an artist, renting space. And he said, we walked all the way down the hall. It was all open. He said, and we came in here, it was already delineated, and he said, this is the one you want. You know,
took us around the floor. Now the floor was totally empty. Open, both sides of the floor was totally empty. It was huge. I mean, picture the whole floor with nothing.
And this was the third floor?
Yes.
We had this long talk. I kept running into him without knowing who he was, actually, just talking. And he's like, what do you think about these spaces, you know?
He showed us columns. He said, you know, you could have this space from this column to that column to that column.
And then he said, if I wanted a studio here, I could have a studio right where we're standing. This wasn't built yet. And he said, I could put one right here for you. And I said, yeah? Who are you? I don't know why it hadn't occurred to me to introduce ourselves or anything, but we were having a good time. And that's how I got here. And he said there's a list, but he said he makes the list. So.
But there's absolutely no question in my mind that this was his life achievement. That is to say, a building for artists in New York City that was really, you know, I don't know about you, but I haven't seen anything quite like this.
I haven't.
It's just very unique.
Everyone's been supportive here.
Yeah.
For all this 6 or 7 years, I've never, I don't know any other building like this.
I don't know.
That's my point.
Yeah.
No, and I've lived in Manhattan for more than 36 years.
Yeah.
I don't know any other building like this.
It's accessible in a way that other buildings aren't, you know, and there's a lot of flow of community through various communities, and there are sections of communities that come through this building.
You always felt there's a certain, you know, spirit in the house here, like a benevolent spirit, which took a very material form, sometimes in situations like Sandy, or when you had the stock market crash like in 2008, right?
These buildings, Pace, all these galleries around here, and all the various art-related things, and that was all because of Raymond. And you can even say some of these buildings, you know, the High Line, kind of. I mean, that was a different idea. But combined with the High Line, it's turned West Chelsea into an epicenter of the art world, and continued to maintain New York City as the center of the art world, which of course began with the defining of the New York school as inheritors of the School of Paris.
If you could say anything to Gloria right now.
Say anything to Gloria?
What would it be?
First, I want to tell him sorry, that this has happened. She would be so sad, so upset, so sad. I mean, I get sad when I think about it. Forget about me. I just think, I know deep in her what her heart was about. And I know what she wanted. And I know she used to talk about it all the time and assure us.
Dominic is 91 or something. If he believes in the afterlife, who's going to be the first person to slap him across the face?
Oh, she's going to get him.
Honestly.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
For sure.
If Raymond doesn't get to him first.
For sure.
For
sure.
And if he doesn't understand that, there's a thing called the letter of the law and then the spirit of the law. Yeah. And of course, the letter of the law says you do not have to keep the building. The spirit of the law says you better find a buyer that can.
I just got chills when you said that. So
it's true.
Yeah.
Now I did write the guy a very moving letter. I wrote a letter to Dominic, I guess his name is.
Dominic, yeah. What did you say?
I said that this would be a hardship for the neighborhood, that the building had a tremendous identity, that the people who worked here had been here for many years, that this was all our lives. How could they do this? And he called me up.
Yeah.
He called me up, and he also told Dave about it, and he said, just give me more time. I think we can solve this.
It becomes such a, your identity, like you're saying, like you sit on the sofa, you have a glass of wine, you invite a friend over, it's like, it's your world.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's really nice. Hopefully we can protect it in some way. I don't know. I mean, I kept thinking when it was happening, it was like, well, there are 200 of us. Can't we afford to buy this thing? I know. There's some very wealthy artists in this building.
And there's also broke artists.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I still dream.
I know.